What's up, A to Z Sports Live on a Tuesday NFL draft week, and some Todd McShay chatter yesterday when it comes to the Tennessee Titans and the potential of drafting a quarterback. So ESPN.com's NFL Draft Insider Todd McShay put out an article of exclusive content. So back-to-back days of A to Z talking about exclusive content within the draft sources for the NFL on ESPN, and Todd McShay going through the top 10 picks, what he's hearing there, what he's hearing with the quarterback chatter, and the Titans popped up in that conversation. So we will have a conversation about a potential dream draft scenario for the Tennessee Titans in the quarterback position. So we'll go through what Todd McShay is hearing about the NFL draft when it comes to these quarterback prospects, what that means for the Titans. And I think dream scenario is interesting because this conversation represents a dream scenario for me that might be different from the dream scenario for Zach, but in both, they could be the dream scenario and meaning multiple things. So I do find this interesting. A lot of different comments already in the YouTube waiting room showing a lot of different opinions. So we're going to get this thing rocking and rolling. Then some news that came out this morning. Derrick Henry becomes the fourth NFL player to become a minority owner in a MLS team as he joined the ownership group of Nashville SC along with Reese Witherspoon and her husband, Tim Roth. And so that is some news there. So we'll talk about what that might mean for King Henry, the city of Nashville, his quote about the city of Nashville that I found pretty interesting. And we'll have a spinoff question from that as well before we get to Tuesday Sports Trivia, where Zach, it's a clean slate week for Tuesday Sports Trivia. It's 0-0. This says the scoreboard. So we have an opportunity to get off to a fresh, hot start in draft week. Let's get this thing rocking and rolling.
What do we set? 71%?
I believe that is what you set last week.
So 71%. I think that is attainable. I think we're just going to have to work as a team together and get this thing done. Get off to an 8 out of 10 start would be ideal. Start out 80% and then work our way down. Our problem with the last 100 questions were we got off really bad. I mean, like 4 and 5 and 6. Can't have those type of weeks. We gather together and we get the job done. We do have a great show on tap for you today. On Tuesday, we're broadcasting live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. We got you covered there. We'll tweet out that YouTube link on our Twitter at A to Z Sports. Follow us there for all the Titans coverage that you need heading into the draft. We'll talk more about exactly what we're doing for the draft. I'm heading to Vegas on Thursday to cover it for A to Z Sports. If you got Titans content, we have you covered right there. So make sure you subscribe to YouTube so you can watch as things go down live on Thursday and Friday, and the Titans and every other NFL team tries to improve their franchise. Facebook, what's going on, Facebookers? More people will roll in over the next 5 to 10 minutes. Already, 10 more people jumped on in the last 3 seconds. So more people are piling in. That's a good thing. Bottom left corner of your screen, sharing out of public. Sharing is caring. Caring is sharing on this show. We need to pop up in your Facebook friends news feed. How that works is you guys share the broadcast. A lot to get to today. Yep. Let's get this party started.
Yep, let's do it officially. Welcome into A to Z Sports, powered by the BetMGM app. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Zach Bingham. Make sure you follow us all over social media as we are Nashville's on-demand sports talk network. We go live every weekday morning at 8 Central Time on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Also hit us up on Twitter and Instagram where you can find the links to the shows, and as TikTok as well for great content. Got to thank our sponsors because they truly do make it happen for our show, and they help out you guys. Wilson County Hyundai. Find your next ride at wilsoncountyhyundai.com or go see them in Lebanon. The Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. And Farm Bureau Health Plans. Get better with Farm Bureau Health Plans. That means better coverage, better service, better rates. Learn more about a health plan for you at fbhp.com/ATOZ. We also have Tuesday Sports Trivia presented by BrentwoodImprint.com. Elevate your business with BrentwoodImprint.com to wrap up today's show. But Zach, a lot of quarterback conversation, right? Because this is the week of the draft. We don't really know what to expect with this draft. I feel like going into this week, look, we don't even know who the number one pick is going to be. Normally, you know who the number one pick's going to be. Normally the team who's picking number one knows who they're going to pick, but Jacksonville's kind of up in the air between Trayvon Walker out of Georgia and Aiden Hutchinson out of Michigan. So we don't really know what to expect at the top, which means we don't know what to expect at 26. And so there's a couple quarterbacks that people might have torn opinions on. And so this quarterback draft leaves a lot up in the air for the overall draft, don't you think?
Yeah, it does. Well, and this is a unique draft. And as Adam Schefter reported yesterday, a lot of teams are trying to trade, but you have to have a trade partner to actually make sure that the trade happens. And then the other caveat is the quarterback situation. You don't have a Joe Burrow or Trevor Lawrence at the top of this draft, as you alluded to. Jacksonville, I mean, there was rumors that they wanted Detroit back. They didn't necessarily want the number one pick. They wanted more picks as they continue to rebuild and have the number one pick for the second year in a row. And then you've got the unique teams that I think the storylines for these two teams for this particular draft are unique because they usually they have not been in this scenario. That's the New Orleans Saints and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Ben Roethlisberger, Drew Brees, no longer with their teams. The Saints have obviously gone through that for at least a year. The Steelers going into new territory for the first time. Those are two franchises that have been dominant in the NFL for several years, and now they're hitting the reset button. And how are they going to do that? They didn't go the veteran quarterback route in free agency. So what are they going to do for the draft? And, it sounds like, and we'll get to Todd McShay's, report here in a second. How far are these quarterbacks going to fall? We have no idea because in a year, Austin, I know you remember this year when Lamar Jackson was taken at the last pick of the first round, 5 quarterbacks were taken in that draft. What type of quarterbacks are we going to have this year? And so very interesting. The best part is we don't know how these players are going to be as pros, but going into this draft, it doesn't seem like a very deep draft overall. It's not a sexy draft as far as players, but NFL GMs somehow, some way, I think are going to make fireworks happen on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we're going to wake up Thursday morning and not really know what hit us. I mean, that happened last year with Aaron Rodgers in the trade conversation that really blew up draft day a year ago. So here's what Todd McShay said about the quarterback position and the latest on this class. He says, as it stands right now, my sources don't believe there is a team in the top 19 picks that will be drafting a quarterback, which includes the Saints, who traded up with the Eagles and maneuvered around a couple picks there. They're in that top 19, and so that includes the Saints right there. McShay says, there's always a shock on draft night, and teams always look to trade up for a signal caller, but the Pittsburgh Steelers at number 20 is the first spot I'm hearing serious quarterback consideration. Word is the Steelers like Liberty's Malik Willis. So the question for Pittsburgh GM Kevin Colbert and Mike Tomlin, can they pull a Bill Belichick and just hold tight for their guy like the Patriots did last year and sticking at 15 and having Mac Jones fall to them? So I find that fascinating that no quarterback consideration in the top 19 picks with teams that have multiple picks and need a quarterback. Because, Zach, you've got the New York Giants who have 2 top 10 picks who have to make a decision on Daniel Jones's 5th-year option that's like $23 million by next week. And they could easily take a quarterback with one of their top 10, two top 10 picks, take a quarterback for Daniel Jones insurance, not pick up that crazy 5th-year option, roll the dice on this year, and then still have another top 10 pick to fill the team needs. Then you've got the Carolina Panthers, who are basically doo-doo when it comes to quarterback position. They're in the top 10, and they're not considering a quarterback. So I think that opens up an interesting scenario, because where Todd McShay continues with his quarterback chatter about this class, the next paragraph, another team that popped up in my conversations about quarterbacks was the Tennessee Titans, who pick at number 26. They were the AFC's top team last season at 12-5, and there are bigger roster needs, including wide receiver. But Ryan Tannehill will turn 34 this summer, and Tennessee could drastically reduce his salary at that position if it drafts a quarterback this year, sits him in 2022, then parts ways with Tannehill in 2023. That was Todd McShay yesterday on ESPN.com about the Titans and the quarterback situation. What's your overall first reaction from that report from McShay?
Well, my reaction is to ask you a question. Okay. Isn't it a dream scenario to have your rookie quarterback at least learn and sit for a year?
I believe that is an ideal scenario to draft a quarterback, yes. Right? Ideal. Doesn't mean it, dream, ideal, whatever you want to say.
Well, ideal, dream, especially if you're picking later in the first round. That probably is not necessary for Joe Burrow. It's probably not necessary for guys like Trevor Lawrence. They need to play because they need to go through the growing pains. Peyton Manning, 3-13, 13-3 the next year, right? We all know that story. But when you're picking in the 20s and you are unsure about your starting quarterback's future with your franchise, which I believe, and I think that the chat believe, the Titans have some serious questions about Ryan Tannehill after that 3-pick performance against Cincinnati. This is an ideal scenario. Look, I'm not saying that it will happen, but I am saying that if you have the opportunity to pick a quarterback that has fallen to you, right, that you don't have to reach on, that's a dream scenario to have him sit behind a veteran quarterback.
I also think it's to continue this dream, right? It's a dream scenario to have a quarterback on a rookie contract. It's an even more of a dream scenario to a first-round pick quarterback on a rookie contract because you have the 5th year of control. And that 5th year option for the 26th pick is so much different than a 5th year option for the Daniel Jones 6th overall pick.
Or Kyler Murray. I mean, if you look at Kyler Murray's going through the same situation, his 5th year option is $20+ million.
No, no, Kyler Murray's, I believe, is 29. Daniel Jones is around 23, being the 6th pick. Murray was number 1. Right? Let's see. Jeffrey Simmons, for being the 19th pick, his 5th year option, $10 million. Value, steal.
And honestly, what you want, you don't want to pay the $10 million. You want, in that 5th year option, to extend them for 10 years because you found your guy.
You want to extend the quarterback really in the offseason after year 3, like what Kyler Murray is, wiping his social media clean of Cardinals things to do.
But Ryan Tannehill did this to the franchise. He made them think about this long and hard for this year's draft because of his play as the number 1 seed in the AFC against the Cincinnati Bengals. He did this. So if he would have played well and gotten to the AFC Championship game and the Tennessee Titans hosted an AFC title game and they came down and somehow lost and didn't go to the Super Bowl, I don't think we're talking about this, Austin. I think we're talking about offensive line. I think we're talking about wide receiver.
No doubt.
We're talking about defense. We're not talking about Desmond Ridder or any of the other guys. We're not talking about Todd McShay's talking about it too.
Sure.
And that does mean something.
Yeah, and so because somebody asked this question, like, who is McShay talking to? Is his sources? And he says, another team that popped up in my conversations about quarterbacks was the Tennessee Titans. So that's how he phrases it. He starts off the blurb on the quarterback class with, as it stands right now, my sources don't believe there is a team in the top 19 picks that will be drafting a quarterback. There's always a shock on draft night and teams always look to trade up for a signal caller, but the Steelers at 20 is the first spot I'm hearing serious quarterback consideration. So Zach says this is a dream scenario, right? You like this scenario where maybe Malik Willis goes at 20 to the Steelers, and then you've got everybody else that's falling into the 20s, where you think that's great for the Titans to be able to replace Ryan Tannehill, sitting him for a year and replacing Tannehill with a rookie quarterback in 2023. I think this can be a dream scenario in a different way. So I'm going to go through what I think my dream scenario would be with this situation from Todd McShay. But first, I'm going to tell you guys about the Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. When anybody gets hurt in life, whether it's you, someone you love, family member, whatever it might be, know where to go, know where to trust. That's the Bone and Joint Institute. They've won awards as recently as like last week when it comes to what they can do in sport orthopedics and the rehab facility right there in Franklin. Also, satellite campuses in Thompson Station, in Brentwood, and in Nolensville, boneandjointtn.org.
A to Z Sports, download the BetMGM app today. They've got you covered. If you need a sports book, BetMGM, use the promo code ATOZ200 for a $10 moneyline wager to win $200 when either NBA team hits a three-pointer. If you did that yesterday and you're a new user, you'd have $200 in your pocket if you bet on Luka. The Dallas Mavericks coming back in. He hit 3 threes on 33 points. That's 3-3-3 right there. That's $200. That's $200 in your pocket if you're a new user. ATOZ200. Use that promo code and download the app today.
All right, so we've talked about Todd McShay, and what he is saying is that the Steelers at 20 is the first pick where he's hearing serious consideration for a quarterback. He also, Todd McShay, said that he has heard the Titans in conversation, excuse me, as I clicked the wrong graphic, in conversation with the Titans about the quarterback position. So, Zach, my dream scenario is not the Titans having these quarterbacks falling to them to pick a quarterback. As I have said multiple times this draft season, the only way I think the Titans should spend a high pick on a quarterback is if they pick up the second-round pick they lost in the Julio Jones trade. I think the Titans have to have rookies that impact this season in 2022. And picking a quarterback, even with Todd McShay's plan, sit him in 2022, then part way with Tannehill in 23. That involves a high draft pick, again, not having an impact as a rookie. And there is still a window for the Titans to do some serious damage in contending for the Super Bowl in the AFC this year with Derrick Henry in his prime, with AJ, with this defense that's basically returning all 10 starters minus Jackrabbit Jenkins. And you've got opportunity here. So you've got to have somebody in this rookie class add to the opportunity. In a first-round quarterback doesn't do that. They sit on the bench wearing a hat. So my dream scenario in this situation is that you've got Desmond Ridder, Kenny Pickett, Matt Corral, everybody not named Malik Willis at quarterback dropping into the 20s where the Titans can get out of that pick. They can trade out, have somebody else jump back in. There are several teams in the top part of the second round who might be interested in a quarterback, getting that fifth-year option of control in the back half of the first round if these prospects drop. And I think that's a great way for the Titans to slide back, 10 to 15 spots where there's not, like, if you talk about this draft and you're hearing, a lot of experts saying, there's 15 to 17 first-round guys. Then, from 20 to 45, there's a lot of really good players. Well, if the Titans can pick up another spot in that second really good player and then have more picks after that, now you're filling your needs and you're not wasting a first-round pick again for a rookie to have an impact.
Well, they don't care whether it has an impact in year one. We talked about that yesterday. History shows that it's 100%. John Robinson does not give a damn if you can help the team in year one. That's what he's told us.
No,
and so last year they were in the same situation.
That is
hey. Last year they were in the same situation and they did the same thing. They drafted a guy who was not ready to play right out of the gate. So that's not going to deter them.
But they have holes, Zach. They have holes that need to be filled and could be filled with a first-round pick or a second-round pick and a second-round pick.
Every NFL team has holes. You're not saying anything that everybody other team has.
No, here's the difference. Is what you just said about Caleb Farley. They picked a guy they knew wasn't ready to play. Where was the hole last year? The Titans did not have the glaring hole in the 2020 draft when they drafted Isaiah Wilson. They did not have the glaring hole last year when they drafted Caleb Farley. Those were different scenarios of picks. Caleb Farley was the same type of thought process as Jeffrey Simmons. Isaiah Wilson was a project process thought of a first-round pick to get a young 20-year-old player who is 6'5", 330 pounds to develop him into a long-term starter Obviously, Isaiah Wilson was a buffoon and is the biggest draft bust in NFL history, but they don't have that massive hole, or they didn't have the massive hole in 2020 and 21. They do now on the offensive line and at wide receiver.
They also have got to fix their quarterback situation if they're going to win a Super Bowl. And look, you
admit that drafting a quarterback does nothing towards the Super Bowl plans for this calendar year.
But Austin, I don't know why you got water in your ears. They don't just do this for 1 year.
I know.
They draft for the next 4. I'll keep telling you that over and over again every single solitary day. I don't mind doing it.
But there is so much pressure on the season of 2022. That? Yes, I do. That's why I just talked about with Jeffrey Simmons, Caleb Farley, and Isaiah Wilson.
So they are going to draft not for this year. They are going to draft for the next 4 or 5. That now includes a quarterback. Because Ryan Tannehill, and the one thing we do not know is truly how John Robertson feels about Ryan Tannehill. He can say all the things that he wants on radio, on press conferences. He can do all of that jazz. But we don't truly know if John Robinson thinks that Ryan Tannehill is the quarterback that this team needs, this franchise needs to win a Super Bowl. And that thought is the most important thought of any thought when it pertains to the Tennessee Titans. My best scenario is your best scenario. It is trading and drafting, and I think a quarterback. If you got Desmond Ridder in the 2nd round, is that a win?
Yeah.
There you go. That is the best scenario.
I've said that. I stated that back when we had this conversation.
Well, of course, it's getting value at a later round is always going to be the best scenario. You're not saying anything. You're not reinventing the wheel here, bud.
I have just specifically said the only way I feel good about drafting a quarterback high in this draft is if the Titans pick up another pick in the top 100.
And Todd McShay's report, based on what we're talking about today, this is the best scenario because you have that option. If there's 3 quarterbacks, if Willis is gone to Pittsburgh, and I do think that this is a crazy scenario because I just don't think that all 3 of these quarterbacks will be available at 26. I think one team besides the Pittsburgh Steelers
I agree,
will be quarterback needy and take a quarterback. I just think that you brought up the Mac Jones things at the beginning of the year. Mac Jones was projected to be the 3rd overall pick for the 49ers for like a month. Mac Jones fell to the Patriots. But the difference is multiple quarterbacks got taken above Mac Jones. This is not that scenario.
Yeah, so it's because we're talking about the Titans and what happens at 26. And if the Titans are at 26 and Malik Willis goes 20 to Pittsburgh, where does everybody else start to jump ahead to go get the quarterback number 2, right?
And look, I think you can do a lot. And this is the scenario we're going to throw out there. And this is where
real quick. Here's what I do know. That after Pittsburgh, it goes Patriots, Packers, Cardinals, Cowboys, Bills, Titans, right? 0 quarterback needs from the Patriots, the Packers, the Cardinals, the Cowboys, or the Bills. So
it's also scary.
Yes, because that means it's a trade partner out, right?
Yeah. You're not worried about like that's what makes the draft so awesome is because you have all of those teams that don't need quarterbacks, but you're paranoid as hell that they're going to trade because I do believe that first round in this particular first round, they want to trade back, not up, right? I mean, Adam Schefter kind of alluded to that.
Yes.
So if that's the case, you're sitting there, I think, shaking in your boots, looking at the Bills drafting, the Packers drafting, the Cowboys drafting, the Cardinals drafting, the whoever's in front of them, the Patriots drafting, because they don't need quarterbacks and they would rather get more picks. And so now all of a sudden, the top of the draft, which is Detroit, Houston, and Carolina, they're all in a scenario that they've already drafted their first round guy. They could come out and get their quarterback at the back end of this first round.
Right, because here are the top 11 picks. Teams in the top 11 picks of round 2 who might be interested in quarterback. Detroit, the Giants, the Texans, the Seahawks have 2 picks right there. The Colts, I think, yeah. And then the Falcons, right? So I think there's a couple teams there that might be interested in jumping back in, like you're saying.
Well, so the scenario we're going to throw out there to the chat to get you guys involved is, and this is why I do think it is the best scenario. We talked about the Titans having the ability to trade back. If in fact they don't want a quarterback and they don't have a guy that they're absolutely in love with at 26 and they want more picks, this gives them the power if these 3 quarterbacks are still on the board. So based on McShay's report, if at 20, the Steelers take their guy, Malik Willis. And how crazy would that be is the first quarterback taken is at 20 overall. It's like a Geno Smith draft. Now
Geno
all of a
Smith
sudden you're
at least 16th. Yeah.
You're at 26.
Yeah.
And you have these 3 guys on the board. You've got Desmond Ridder, you've got Kenny Pickett, and you've got Matt Corral. This is the question that we're going to ask you guys on draft week. Who would you rather have if the Titans were to select a quarterback at 26 out of these 3 guys, Ridder, Pickett, or Corral? Who would you have the Titans take? Now, look, we're not giving you an out. This is where it's difficult. We're not giving you an out to say, oh, you can trade out. Oh, you can do all this stuff.
Yeah.
This is a gun to your forehead.
Yeah.
You have to pick one of these 3 quarterbacks.
And so Mark says none, right? So we do want to make sure that you guys follow the game, right?
Mark, you're out of here.
All right. So we'll get to that. But real quick, let me take this time to let you guys know tomorrow morning, Wednesday on the show, we will be announcing our NFL draft plans for when it comes to covering the Titans pick live on these channels. So get ready for that. An official announcement tomorrow morning on Wednesday on the show. So Wednesday morning, our draft coverage plans will be out there. We put a lot into this. Very excited about it. It's going to be very in-depth. I don't think anybody's going to put the resources into covering the Titans draft like A to Z Sports is, because we're going to be live here. Zach's going to be in Vegas, and more details coming tomorrow morning on Wednesday for our draft coverage. So, Zach, what are the comments saying? If the Titans have these 3 guys available at 26, we're saying there are 0 trade partners. You have to pick one of these 3 guys at 26. Is it Desmond Ridder of Cincinnati, Kenny Pickett from Pitt, or Matt Corral from the Ole Miss Rebels? Zach, what's the chat saying?
This is very interesting because you've got King Henry, and maybe Derrick, stepped away from the pitch and decided to join us. Yeah. Pickett, no question. And then Jake goes, it's Desmond Ridder, hands down. We've got ourselves a good question. Adam says Ridder. Jamal's on a boat. He says Rudder. Cullen says Kenny Pickett easily. Michael says Ridder. Derrick says Ridder. Eric says Ridder. We got Ridder from Johnny Lee. We've got an early favorite. Ridder from Jamal. Paulie D. None. Ridder in the second. Kenneth, you don't count. We're taking that away because you said none.
Any Corrals?
I pulled
Corrals.
Huh?
I haven't seen any Matt Corrals.
There is a Matt Corral on down the list because I have seen this. Titans Kyle says Ridder. Max says Ridder. Rusty says Pickett. Rather have Ridder from Nick. Ricochet Ray says Ridder. 2324 Mamba says Pickett. Desmond Ridder from Steven. Orlando says Pickett. Daniel says Ridder. There is a Corral, and it comes from Lane. He says Matt Corral right there on Facebook. Billy.
Of course, Elaine picks Matt Corral.
Yeah, there you go. Pickett says from Billy Jones. Deborah says Ridder. Pickett from Assad. Ridder from John. Mr. Wrong goes Corral. So I don't know if that is foreshadowing. Zach Lawrence says Pickett. I feel like is the most NFL ready of the 3.
But again, we're not worried about that. What
do you think?
But we're not worried about who's NFL ready, right? Because we're talking about, and that's what.
But if you're closer to be NFL ready, that is better.
But the Titans are picking who has the highest ceiling. That's what they should be doing, not who has the highest floor. But because Todd McShay says, Tennessee could drastically reduce its salary at that position if it drafts a quarterback this year. sits that person in 2022 and parts way with Tannehill next season. So you're not worried about NFL ready right now. You're talking a full 15 months from now is when that guy should be making his first start, unless something drastically goes wrong.
Adam brings up a good side topic. Adam says Ridder is actually a leader, praised for it, something the Titans are lacking now. Do you believe that Adam is correct that the Titans are lacking leadership?
No,
not leadership. Let me rephrase that. Are the Titans lacking a leader?
I mean, I don't think so. I think their leadership's very strong. I think they have strong leadership from the head coach. I think Tannehill has proven that he has leadership capabilities and has shown that over his 3 seasons as Titan starter. Derrick Henry has absolutely blossomed into a leader. Ben Jones is a really good leader. I think, that's what, 3 guys on offense plus the head coach. The defense has Kevin Byard. Jeffrey Simmons has emerged as a leader. I think they have plenty of leaders.
I don't disagree with you. I think Derrick Henry is the leader, but it was hard for him to lead when he was having foot surgery.
Yeah, but again, like last year, like we have to remember, they were literally the most injured football team in NFL history. Like we have to remember that. And they still won 12 games. Like that's something to hang your hat on. Like that's a lot of new guys off the couch at practice trying to pick things up on the fly and then play on Sunday.
So Desmond Ridder is the overall from the chat, pick. Austin, gun to your forehead. I know you don't want to do this.
Sure.
But at 26 overall, if you had the pick of this litter, Desmond Ridder, Kenny Pickett, or Matt Corral, who would you select for the Tennessee Titans?
So I want to add, before I give my final answer, I do want to ask you a question on Matt Corral, but I will say this. I'm going to eliminate Kenny Pickett because I think, as the commenter said, that, Pickett might be the most pro ready right now. I don't care about that. And so therefore, I think Kenny Pickett probably has the lowest ceiling of these 3. So I'm going to eliminate Kenny Pickett. I'm going to ask you, Ole Miss alum, what do you think about Matt Corral? Because Matt Corral is wiry. He's tough as nails. He has really good running ability. He gets hit a lot, takes a lot of big hits, but he is tough. But I just don't know how he would translate and if he can hold up. So how do you feel on Matt Corral?
So things that I love about Matt Corral are his arm strength, his risk taking, and his deep ball. Those 3 things have stood out to me watching every single snap of every single game that he's played at Ole Miss. I do love his leadership. I would be concerned about, and it's kind of, like trying to make the extra play because he is so tough that could get him in trouble. He doesn't have the Russell Wilson intelligence to go put the ball out, get the first down, slide instead of dive. Now, can that be taught? Yes, because I think Josh Allen has done a better job of that. I thought the same thing about Josh Allen early on in his career. He's 6'2", so he's not like the 6'4", big, tall quarterback frame. But I do love his arm strength, and I do love his – I will say this. If you're an NFL quarterback, you have to be a risk taker. You cannot be Chad Pennington. You cannot just dump it down. You cannot be Mark Sanchez. You cannot just dump it down. You have to be able to trust your players and trust your guys. I do think, and this is another concern, we talk about the phrase Alabama open. There was a lot of Ole Miss open last year because of Lane Kiffin's scheme. So that's another concern. I am biased in the Ole Miss term because I went there and I cheer for them. I don't run away from that. But I also am honest about what I think could be some of the fallbacks or setbacks that Matt Corral could have in his career early on.
Yeah, but again, like you're planning on sitting this guy. And so you're trying to weigh the pros and cons of the player and their ceiling.
He has zip. Like when you talk about arm strength, he has zip. And I think that is valued in the NFL.
All right. Somebody asked me, why do I eliminate Kenny Pickett from this conversation? I think he has the lowest ceiling because the guy was a 6-year college player. And I'm kind of using some NBA type draft philosophy on this. When you are that far into your college career, how much more growth do you have room for? Right? Like, I think Kenny Pickett is way closer to a finished product than Matt Corral and Desmond Ridder. So I think when you're talking about a quarterback, you want to see that there's still room to grow. You don't want to draft the finished product at the quarterback position. So that's why I say Kenny Pickett has the lowest ceiling, if that makes sense.
I understand your philosophy behind that.
So I think I'm going to go with Desmond Ridder because I think Desmond Ridder has the best combination of has room to grow, but also less risk than what Matt Corral would have. So I'm going to go with Desmond Ridder because I like what you said about Matt Corral. I'm intrigued by Matt Corral, right? Because I think Matt Corral is probably the most likely to be available at 26 of the three. So I don't want to be the team that missed out on a really talented guy because you were scared about some of the risks.
I think I would have to set my Ole Miss bias aside. I think Matt Corral is an early second-round pick. I don't necessarily think he's a first-round pick. So Kenny Pickett doesn't do it for me. I like the hands thing is just kind of a fun play of Kenny pause. But I do kind of agree with you as far as you've had a lot of opportunity to grow. And so how much more growth you're always going to grow when you get into a new league.
Now there's a difference, why I think it's important to say there's a difference in that quarterback position in a first round pick and another player. Cause I think Velus Jones Jr. is going to be a steal by whoever drafts him from Tennessee. But that guy's a 24-year-old rookie. That guy's been in college for 6 years too. But again, you're talking about a mid to late round pick at a wide receiver position who can run a 4.3, and you can use him for a 4-year rookie contract and hopefully get some splash out of him before he turns 28 or 29. And there's not that level of importance on that. So I think Velus Jones Jr., you can use that to your advantage, where with Kenny Pickett, I think it's a disadvantage.
But I also think Ridder and the chat has brought this up numerous times, and I'll just display Cullen's. Ritter's arm strength is not great. He also has not played against superior competition. Now, Joe Flacco didn't either. Like, we've seen that story. They still draft guys from smaller schools. Now, Carson Wentz is a bad example because North Dakota State, and he's played awful. He has not been worth his pick. But Ridder, 6'3", it's kind of funny because he's 6'3", 211. Matt Corral's 6'2", 212, which
it doesn't look like that.
No, it doesn't. Ridder, so I think you have to you go back to what your comment was, which is who has the highest ceiling if you're drafting at 26 overall, right?
I'm just looking at the two pictures of Ridder and Corral that I grabbed for the show. Like, Matt Corral's QB jacket just looks so thick, like he's trying to be protected from as he's going to give a speech by the like a president. But Desmond Ridder looks thicker. And Matt Corral, that thing sticks out quite a bit. So visually, I think their weights kind of are thrown off there.
Here's my last question before I answer. Do you value that Desmond Ridder was able to take Cincinnati to the college football playoff, and a team like that for the first time at least got that opportunity, and what they did at Cincinnati?
Yeah, I do, because I think, when you're the Cincinnati team, you have to be perfect. Like, there's no margin for error, right? Like, you've got to win every game, and you have to have extra style points with it, and they were able to pull it off. So I think it's legitimate. Yeah.
I think I'm probably.
But there's also like Patrick Mahomes, who was like a 500 quarterback at Texas Tech in the Big 12.
Yeah, there you go. I think I'm influenced a lot by Vrabel and Fickell's relationship.
That too.
And so my pick is Ridder. I mean, personally, I would, if Matt Corral gets drafted by the Titans and they trade back and get him in the early second round, I'm going to be ecstatic. I think that's going to be I'm going to be annoying. I mean, I probably already am annoying, but even more so if the Titans draft Corral in the early second after they get multiple picks. I would love that. I think that would make perfect sense. Because I do believe and I've said this, the millisecond after the Titans lost in the divisional round, I figured out that Ryan Tannehill, it ain't me, babe. It ain't him. It ain't him. So you're going to have to go find somebody else. And the only way that you find somebody else is either to draft or find him in free agency. My pick is Ritter at 26, but if they could get Corral in the second and multiple picks, I wouldn't hate that either.
I don't think, again, like you stated before you asked me, I don't want to do this. I do not want the Titans to draft the quarterback at 26. I have to say that every time we have this exercise. But I do think it's interesting to go through based on.
So, and I'll say this. I was actually texting with Jim Wyatt about this. If the Titans have got to decide one of two things, are they going to help Tannehill or are they going to put pressure on Tannehill?
Wow.
Those are it's pick your poison. What are you going to do this year? Are you going to help him and draft a wide receiver or a guard? Or are you going to put pressure on him to make him perform at a high level? And so his leash is so short that if things start going awry, and look, the other thing is we haven't seen the NFL schedule. I know the NFL opponents for the Tennessee Titans. I have coined 2022 as the Green Mile. It's death row. If you come out and you play the Bills, the Chiefs, the Cowboys, and the Colts first 4 games, hello, Tom Hanks, because and now you're in a completely different scenario where if at some point during the season you don't feel like you can compete or win, now you've got a backup plan to start getting him, because the AFC is deep. Sure, it is deep, blue seat deep.
All you got to do is win the division, and it's a 2-headed race between you and the Colts. And if you want, you go back to your help or pressure, you go back to what Mike Vrabel said. The Monday after the Bengals loss is, quote from Mike Vrabel, "We have to be great around Ryan Tannehill." And drafting a quarterback in the first round does not help you be great around your quarterback.
Are they going to help him or are they going to pressure him?
It just doesn't. Now, could Mike Vrabel's opinion have changed since, from January 24th to now? Maybe. But I still think that's the overall plan, is that they need to be great around Tannehill, and drafting the quarterback does not do that. So, Zach, let's talk about somebody who has been great around Ryan Tannehill and now is going to be great for the city of Nashville as Derrick Henry becomes a minority owner in Nashville SC. And what he said about the city was pretty telling. But first, tell everybody about Farm Bureau Health Plans.
Yeah, FBHP is the place to go to change your health plan and help you and your family for the future. I did it at the beginning of this year. FBHP.com/ATOZ. You can go online or you can give them a call. I went the call route. So you just got to go to FBHP.com, give them a call, say, "Hey, look, I heard about you guys on A to Z Sports. I'm looking to maybe possibly change my health plan, but I don't know yet." And they're going to say, "Hey, no problem. We'll get you set up. We do have better coverage. We probably have better rates, and we damn sure have better service. So this is what you have to do. You got to go through a 20 to 30-minute health assessment. We're going to ask you a handful of questions. Just answer them openly and honestly. And then after that, we're going to assess your health test. A couple of days later, they're going to give you an actual quote. They're going to walk you through the complete process. It's going to be quick and easy. And then you've got a decision to make. Is this rate and is this coverage better than what you currently have for you, your young family, individually, whatever it is? FBHP.com. Go online today /A to Z and start that health assessment, and you'll be saving money with better coverage right as soon as you possibly can.
Don't forget, download the BetMGM app. This is honestly my favorite of their new user deals because it's guaranteed to work. I mean, all their new user deals are guaranteed to work, but this one I like a lot because you use code ATOZ200. That's ATOZ200 when you're a new user with the BetMGM app. Plug in that code, make your first deposit, and all you got to do is put a $10 moneyline wager on any NBA team tonight. It does not matter if that bet wins or loses, because that $10 will give you $200 when either team in that game you bet on hits a 3-point shot. So easy as this. Download the app. That's step 1. Step 2, put in the code ATOZ200. Step 3, make a deposit. Step 4, your last step, is just a $10 moneyline wager on any team playing in the NBA tonight, and you're going to win $200 when either team in that game hits a 3-point shot. Visit betmgm.com for terms and conditions. 21 or older, Tennessee only. New customer offer. All promotions subject to qualification and eligibility requirements. Rewards issued with non-withdrawable free bets or site credit. Free bets expire in 7 days. For problem game support, call Tennessee Redline 800-889-9789. Zach, we've got Derrick Henry, who is a new minority owner in Nashville SC, as he has joined today. This put out via the team Nashville SC. Derrick Henry, Reese Witherspoon, and Jim Toth, who is Reese Witherspoon's husband. So there you go. You got the Derrick Henry 22 for the year 2022 Nashville SC jersey. But I thought the best thing about what Derrick Henry said in this press release from Nashville SC is, here's his quote. As a kid growing up in Florida, I imagined being a professional sports owner, and the opportunity to do that with a Major League Soccer club is truly a dream come true. My investment in Nashville SC is way more than financially. It's truly an investment in the city of Nashville. I thought that was great. The chance to be a part of the club like Nashville SC, especially after seeing what they are accomplishing in the community, was an opportunity I did not want to miss. So Derrick Henry investing in the city of Nashville with Nashville SC, I think that's awesome, right? I mean, it couldn't be any greater than that.
Well, and, it's smart. At the end of the day, it's smart. Nashville is a booming community, and in 10 years, that investment is probably going to pay off tenfold. I mean, that's just the trend of whether it's real estate or anything that is happening in Nashville. A to Z Sports has seen a lot of success starting in Nashville because of, the sports and trying to put that more on the map in a digital hemisphere. But yeah, no, I mean, I think it's always great. And Reese Witherspoon, here's an interesting story, personal story. Reese Witherspoon from Nashville, if you didn't know that.
Yes.
Reese Witherspoon went to Harding Academy, as did I when I was younger, but also my sister. And they, you get paired. I didn't even know this, but you get paired as an 8th grader and a 5th grader to kind of like, it's like a little sister thing.
Buddy system kind of
buddy
deal.
System.
Yeah.
And Reese Witherspoon was my sister's older buddy, or whatever you want to call it. And so everybody was kind of like, Reese Witherspoon in 8th grade was not the superstar that she is today. But as she started to grow as a movie star, I always remembered that. And Reese Witherspoon has done a great job of giving back to the community and kind of sticking to her roots in Nashville after going to LA and making a bunch of money in movies and all of that. So look, this is the soccer stadium as a whole, I think, is going to, there's sectors of Nashville. If you're unfamiliar with Nashville, maybe you live somewhere else and you watch this show, the sectors that are booming. Germantown is starting to change and become right around the stadium with Topgolf. That is a booming community. And Wedgwood, Houston, which is right around where the Speedway and now the new soccer stadium is, that community is booming. East Nashville has changed for the better. Like all of these things of Nashville, it has just gotten, and this is I think the word is, it has improved. And that's a great thing that Derrick Henry wants to be a part of it.
Yeah, and it's, again, by the way, May 1st, which is Sunday, home opener for Geodis Park. And I don't know about you guys, every time I see an actual real picture or video of Geodis Park, it looks like a video game to me. Like in like the best, and that's a compliment, in the best way possible. It looks so clean that it looks like a computer generation to me. And I don't know if it's because the seats or like the different colors that throw off my eyes, but my God, that place looks incredible. I have not been there. I want to go there and check it out at some point. But I think it's a great thing for Derrick Henry to jump on board. It also helps grow the soccer brand in Nashville, right? How many people who probably would not give a damn about Nashville SC will at least visit their website today because Derrick Henry's a new investor? or we'll at least hear about it, talk about it, think about it, because Derrick Henry's involved. I think that's a big deal.
Here's a little side note. I usually don't agree with Bobby, but I will say Four Christmases is a very underrated rom-com.
Love Four Christmases.
I do too. I also like, and this is Vince Vaughn, it's not Reese Witherspoon, but Couples Retreat. Very sneaky, funny.
It's the same performance from Vince Vaughn.
I like that. I like that performance.
It's always the same. It's Vince Vaughn plays the same guy who
the breakup.
He's the same guy. He doesn't want to get too emotional. He doesn't want to get attached. He doesn't want to get his heart broken because he's trying to guard against his real feelings. That's Vince Vaughn in every movie he plays. But yeah, Four Christmases is absolutely in my wife and I's rotation of Christmas movies.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And so, all right. So let's get to our question here on this, Zach. If you could become a minority owner in any pro sport other than football, what would it be? I find this interesting because I don't know where you're going to go. But first, tell everybody about Wilson County Hyundai.
Yeah, Wilson County Hyundai is where you need to go to get your next ride. It's that simple to go to wilsoncountyhyundai.com, look at their inventory, and then visit them. Payne Bone and his team will hook you up with your perfect make and model. It may be the Palisade, which has third row seating. It's a full-size SUV for you and your family. Maybe it's the Sonata that's fuel efficient that I own, the Elantra, the Santa Fe, or the Ioniq. The Ioniq is electric Hyundai, right? So it's not all just about Teslas. You can have the electric Hyundai, which is the Ioniq, to start saving you money and change the world 1 mile at a time. I just made that up, but I like it, and I'm sticking with it. WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
All right, so what pro sport would you want to be a minority owner in outside of football? Because Derrick Henry has jumped into the MLS with Nashville SC. Now, obviously, Grizzy Talk 901 says NBA for sure, the Memphis Grizzlies. So there's going to be a lot of that type.
The Grizz have I think, the era of Paul Gasol and Zebo and Mike Conley, that Grizz team, that had flair. And Tony Allen.
Yeah, I was about to say, don't leave out the grindfather, dude. You're about to get smoked by every Grizz fan.
I would never. But now Ja Morant and Desmond Bane, dude. Bane is one of my favorite players. I do love Bane. And so I do not like Jared Jackson Jr. I think that guy's awful. I think they need to trade him away. I think he's a bust. But I do like the core of the Grizzlies for Ja Morant. It definitely has a lot of appeal.
Oh, there it is. No Tony Allen? Oh.
Yeah, he didn't let me finish.
No, well, you almost forgot. Yeah. So, where do you go in this? I mean, I'm guessing you're probably going to go NBA.
So I would love NBA because I like Mark Cuban would love to sit behind the bench and just be that guy. I mean, I think that would be fun.
No.
So, I mean, in all honesty, it would be basketball because NBA basketball is, the hierarchy of the NFL, and then it probably goes Ole Miss and college football because I do love football first. But, man, right there is the NBA. I watch a ton of NBA. I mean, all these playoffs, I watch all 3 games every night. I mean, it's probably exhausting for others, but I love it. So I think basketball is my answer. My secondary, this would be an outsiders thing.
Okay.
I think that the emergence of esports would be a good investment.
Right.
And so
that would be more of a financial pull for you, right? Because you're not an esports guy.
No, I'm not. But
that's you trying to
racing. Drone racing would be pretty interesting.
Yeah.
I like technology. So my second would be a tie between drone racing and esports.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of there's a lot of cool social aspect about the NHL, but the NHL is just not a good enough, well-run league for me to become a minority owner in that. I think I would have to go with the NBA, but I do think baseball would also be intriguing just because of the 162 games which means 162 TV opportunities and an 81 home gate opportunities. And there's just a lot of money in baseball. So I think NBA would be my number one, then maybe baseball.
Baseball would be good. I do want to, I have to, and all these Jaren Jackson Jr.
I knew it was going to happen.
Freaks,
I knew it. I knew it was going to happen.
And Jarrell, let me explain to you something. And look, I don't want to just point out him. There's another one coming in. Ronnie, come here. Let me point something else. Let me remind you that Jaren Jackson Jr. was the 4th overall pick in the entire draft. Do you not understand the weight that should bear? It's just the same damn thing that I spew every, I feel like, day about Corey Davis being the number 5 overall NFL draft pick. You have to take that into consideration. Jaren Jackson Jr. is 6'11", cannot shoot threes. He basically does a one-step push shot. He may be a defensive player, and he was in the running this year. He had a better year than other years. But for the 4th overall pick in the NBA, the dude is trash.
All right. Ryan has a great question that might make Zach's head explode. Who's more of a bust? Triple J or Corey Davis?
This is tough.
I'm not going to make you answer that. We've got to get trivia going, or we're going to be here all day, because Zach's just like, I can see it's like, Zach Galifianakis in The Hangover, of all the equations going through Zach's head right now. Who's a bigger bust? Thank you, Ryan, for that gem of a question.
I've faded Jaren Jackson Jr. on my bets so many damn times over the last 2 years, or when he was healthy last year. And then, his stats are okay without Ja, because he was the only resort, but Memphis sucked at that time, right? Before they got Ja. So
pre-Ja, not without Ja this year. Because without Ja this year, the Grizzlies were still really good.
Yeah, because my boy Bane.
Yes. Yeah. Which I don't know if you saw this, but Ja Morant dropped off the most improved player of the year award at Bane's house. Great.
Bane won me $250 over the weekend because I did him over points and the over against the Timberwolves. So
you didn't share that in the group chat with Alan and Brian and me.
Well, I don't share all my bets.
I try to share all my bets.
I don't have time to share all my bets.
All right, it is time to get the Tuesday Sports Trivia here live on the show. We need everybody involved because we're starting from scratch. Tuesday Sports Trivia, presented by BrentwoodImprint.com. Again, literally your brand on absolutely anything. If you need to improve the branding of your company, elevate your business, BrentwoodImprint.com, locally owned and operated, and they've got everything covered for you. They can do it all. Charles, the owner of Brentwood Imprint, does a great job. If you need, whether it's gear to wear, swag, hats, hoodies, shirts, they've also got coolers, services, tumblers, mugs, pens, pencils, notebooks, everything, literally everything. BrentwoodImprint.com. Don't go big company, national brand. Go local. BrentwoodImprint.com for Tuesday Sports Trivia. Let's get to it.
All right.
My bad. I was trying to scroll through there.
the moment of silence.
Look, I thought you were going to do it
to scare the hell out of all of our viewers, right? With that little boom, right?
Yeah. Well, look, I've been doing really good with my BetMGM disclosure reads, and so I was due to mess something up when it comes to that. So, all right, let's get to a Tuesday Sports Trivia. We are starting clean slate, 0-0, 7 sports questions, 3 non-sports. Let's get this thing rolling.
First question, what position did Mickey Mantle originally play in the minors? What position did Mickey Mantle originally play in the minors? Oh, man. Somebody has to know this.
So what was his final position?
I believe he was an outfielder.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. For some reason, I was thinking catcher.
I don't know why. It was long before my time.
Yes. I was, for some reason, I thought catcher.
Well, the problem is you asked that question, so we got to figure out what they answered.
Yeah, I know, right?
Shortstop, it looks like.
Yeah, Alex Doherty. I feel really confident whenever Alex Doherty, our Preds writer and sports card aficionado, is watching this. So he says pretty sure it's shortstop. I think it's shortstop.
You want to lock that in?
Final A to Z, shortstop.
Mantle originally played shortstop, but after making 102 errors in his last 2 seasons in the minors, he was moved to the outfield.
Good Lord.
All right, next question.
How do you even have an opportunity to make that many errors?
And then Mickey Mantle became who Mickey Mantle was, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Next question. The other Hall of Fame that NBA legend Wilt Chamberlain was inducted into was what? Volleyball, shuffleboard, boxing, or business? What other Hall of Fame was NBA legend Wilt Chamberlain inducted into? And it's not ladies, so don't even say that. Volleyball Hall of Fame, shuffleboard Hall of Fame, boxing Hall of Fame, or business Hall of Fame? I know we're going to get some
volleyball.
comments.
I think it's volleyball.
Volleyball does make sense.
Yeah, because he's like 6'10". And when he was 6'10", not a lot of people were 6'10". I say volleyball. I feel pretty good about volleyball.
I am kind of with Big Ten Jeff. I kind of hope it's shuffleboard.
That would be really funny. But I think let's go volleyball, because business Hall of Fame, like, is that even a thing? And I feel like we would know if it was boxing. So volleyball, final A to Z.
After his basketball career ended, Chamberlain played volleyball in the International Volleyball Association. He was president of the organization and enshrined in the Hall of Fame for his contribution.
There you go. 2-0. 2-0 start. Let's do it.
In 2015, what tennis player broke the single season record with 6 Masters titles? In 2015, what tennis player broke the single season record for 6 Masters titles? Well, it's got to be Nadal,
Masters,
or Djokovic, or
2015.
Who's the best player in tennis ever? Roger Federer. God.
2015 tennis.
I think it's Nadal. And the reason why I think it's Nadal is he had the ability to win on clay. And that was harder, more difficult for all the others.
Yeah.
Djokovic is not great.
Masters here.
Huh?
I'm thrown off by Masters. The word Masters in this.
4. I think it's the slam.
That's majors. That's what I don't know of. There's also, and Ian says it's Novak. And Ian knows that because he's over there where they play more tennis.
Yeah, but Paul says 2015 sounds more like Federer and Nadal, which I do agree with. But when anybody says it's Novak, like if he said the first name and he's been definitive on it's, and he has put the apostrophe too.
Yep.
Do you want to? Let's go with Ian from across the pond.
Let's go with Joker Novak. Final A to Z.
Wow. So we figured out what Masters is as well. Novak Djokovic was the first Serbian player to be ranked number 1 by the ATP. So being ranked 6 times, so 6 Masters titles. So I guess you're considered a Masters champion if you are the number 1 player in the world, as ranked by the ATP.
All right, there you go. 3-0 start. I like it.
What team tried to steal a bus at the 1974 World Cup?
Tried to steal a bus?
Yeah.
Wow. We need some of our older viewers to do this because that had to be a pretty big story. Right?
Yeah, I don't remember 1974 that well.
A bus. I don't know. Which means they failed.
What team tried to steal a bus at the 1974 World Cup?
Jake says sounds Russian.
Honestly, as I was looking at the question, I was thinking, Russia? Is this a bad time to say Russia?
Jabu says Somalia, which is funny.
I am the captain now.
That's pretty funny. I mean,
I say we go Russia.
I mean, there's everybody. Alex, it sounds like a German thing. I mean, I don't know. Like, Titans Kyle says, I think it was Zaire.
I mean, we have just guesses here.
Yeah. What do we do?
Well, and Bobby is correct. Yeah. It would be the USSR, the Soviet Union, and not Russia. So we're out on Russia.
Roy says Israel. Roy's pretty good at this stuff. I kind of feel like we need to go with Roy. What do you think?
This is a conundrum.
I'm going to go with Roy. Let's go Roy. Final A to Z, Israel.
We should have gone with Titans Kyle.
Zaire.
During the 1974 World Cup in Munich, national teams were given a BMW bus for transportation. After being eliminated, Zaire unsuccessfully tried to drive theirs back to Africa. Oh my God. That's how they stole it. I was trying to figure out how do you steal that? It's keeping it.
Yeah. Shelley was like 35 seconds late to back up Titans Kyle Zaire. All right. So we're 3-1.
Which NFL position on average has the shortest career? Wide receivers, kickers, running backs, or cornerbacks? Which NFL position on average has the shortest career? Wide receivers, kickers, running backs, or cornerbacks?
My first guess was running back, but the kicker thing is kind of throwing me. Because kickers are, because you've got kickers that play for 15 years, and then you've got kickers that play for a week. I just don't know what they're like. Do they count?
It does say on average.
Yeah. I say running back. I still want to go with my initial gut with running back. What do you think?
The kicker, when you start talking about the kickers, I do think you're right. I think it's running backs. That makes the most sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, how many kickers have the Titans had the last 3 or 4 years?
But they jump.
Right? Yeah.
Right? Running backs don't usually jump. Their careers are over.
Yeah, so let's go running backs final A to Z.
According to an NFL Players Union study, the average running back has only a 2.57 year career.
That's crazy. All right, 4-1. Don't play running back. That's why you're seeing all these wide receivers and DBs and pass rushers and linebackers come out. That's why Nick Saban that's why a lot of people recruited Derrick Henry to be an edge rusher.
Ooh, this is pretty interesting. I think this is kind of more opinionated, but it is multiple choice. What percentage of NBA players go broke within 5 years of retiring? 60%, 80%, 40%, or 20%? What percentage of NBA players go broke within 5 years of retiring? 60, 80, 40, or 20%?
I was going to say 50 before you read the options. So the first player I thought of was Antoine Walker. I think it's 40. Because do they also count the guys who play for like a year and a half and then are done, who barely make any money?
I mean, I don't know. That's why I kind of stopped short.
There's a lot of 60s. But yeah, I mean, I'm with Nick. Going broke is really extreme. You know what I mean? In 5 years, I'm torn. 40 or 60. What do you think?
40. Yeah, I don't think it's 60.
Right. 40. Final A to Z 40. It's gonna be 60.
It's 60.
That's insane. That can't be right.
It's reported that 60% of retired NBA players go broke within 5 years after their NBA paychecks stop arriving.
That can't be right. That's insane.
The good ones keep playing.
Yeah.
Dang.
So we're at 4-2.
4-2. One more sports question. Let's see here. What sport did Sugar Ray Robinson's son play? What sport did Sugar Ray Robinson's son play? So Sugar Ray Robinson, boxer.
Yeah, I agree, Nate. New rule: when Jarrell answers the NBA questions, we have to listen to him because Jarrell was right.
Sorry, Jarrell.
I
just didn't think it was going to be that high. What sport did Sugar Ray Robinson's son play? I don't think it was boxing. It's got to be different.
My thought was football.
My thought was baseball.
I mean, I don't think. Titans Kyle says it was something obscure. Do you? I mean, the baseball seems to be the most popular answer. I say we go baseball.
What are we? What's our record?
4-2.
We need this.
Yeah, we do. Let's go baseball. Final A to Z.
Oh, damn. I mean, we wouldn't have got it. It was something obscure. In 2004, Ronnie Robinson, the son of boxer Sugar Ray Robinson, was inducted into the Roller Derby Hall of Fame.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, at minimum, we learn a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah. So 4-3.
All right, we got to finish strong. I mean, we need to get these three right. We need to get
all three of these. Yeah.
What is the only king in a deck of cards without a mustache? What is the only king in the deck of cards without a mustache? So,
all right.
Hearts, clubs, diamonds, or spades. It's not even multiple choice, but I'll give it to you.
Yeah.
Who's the young king?
I don't know. I have not.
Is it cheating if you have a deck of cards around you?
Yes. I do not. I do not.
This is not good. We've got spades, clubs, hearts.
We're getting hearts. Lock it in.
But Orlando says club is the low king, but I believe it's hearts from Lane. Hearts all caps. I mean, hearts is suicide king. You know, with the sword.
I don't know anything about cards.
I may be playing some cards this weekend.
Yeah. All right. Jake says it's hearts, guys. All right. So Paul says hearts. I play every weekend. So let's go hearts. Final A to Z. AG says spades. Lock that S in. So I mean, God. Let's just go hearts. Let's go hearts. Final A to Z hearts.
Diamonds, clubs, and spades are by association linked respectively with the corruption of wealth, war, and death. In contrast, the heart has an organ that is pure, open, and undisguised. It does not wear artifice. Hence, the clean-shaven King of Hearts.
Okay.
I love that.
That's
answer.
really fascinating. I had no
Diamonds,
idea.
Diamonds wealth, clubs war, spades death, pure
hearts. Interesting.
Next time you play, that's good.
There you go. All right, 5 and 3. It's 2 more.
We have 2 more. Who was the first Time Magazine Man of the Year?
Tell me we have options.
We do.
Okay, good.
Henry Ford, Charles Lindbergh, Mahatma Gandhi, or Adolf Hitler. I don't think it's one of those.
You never know.
Yeah, it could be a flip. I mean, but there's no way.
I think Ford feels good.
Ford. Mahatma Gandhi, though. Charles Lindbergh. What did Charles Lindbergh do?
I honestly think it's Ford. It's Ford in the Model T, which was before Hitler. And I do think Adolf Hitler was a man of the year at one point, but Ford seems like the earliest.
Man, I didn't know that.
Lindbergh was a pilot, according to Big Ten Jeff. Lindbergh was before Ford. He was the blimp. I think we go. I think.
We got a lot of Lindberghs. Shelley's coming in. Keenan's coming in.
Let's go Lindbergh. Final A to Z. He's probably the earliest of the 4 people.
The tradition of selecting a man of the year began in 1927 with Time editors attempting to remedy the editorial embarrassment earlier that year of not having Charles Lindbergh on its cover following his historic transatlantic flight.
So we got it right?
You got it right.
Sweet. 6 and 2.
That's good.
That was 6 and 3. Sorry. 6 and 3. Last question.
Another multiple choice.
Good.
I don't know it though.
All right.
How long is a jiffy? 1/1,000,000th of a second, 1/1,000,000th of a second, 1/1,000,000,000th of a second, or 1/1,000,000,000th of a second. I'll be there in a jiffy. What does jiffy represent? How long is jiffy? 1/1,000,000th, 1/1,000,000th, 1/1,000,000,000th, or 1/1,000,000,000th of a second? That's a tongue tie.
Is it spelled with a J or a G?
J. Jiffy, like Jiffy Lube.
People are saying million. 1/1,000,000th. Jake says Jiffy Lube is slow.
It's not as fast as you'd like it.
This is tough. I mean,
I like the non-sports questions.
Yeah, I do too. Well, and Jeff says it's not a GIF/GIF, Austin Ella. Well, I asked how it was spelled because I didn't know if that would help tip off like million, trillion, whatever else.
I think the majority is saying millionth.
Yeah, because that's like the only thing we actually know. Quadrillionth from Orlando is the highest number, so it's the fastest.
All right, I'll repeat the question one more time, then we got to answer it. How long is a jiffy? 1/1,000,000th of a second, 1/1,000,000th of a second, 1/1,000,000,000th of a second, or 1/1,000,000,000th of a second?
Paul says Jiffy, J, 10th letter of the alphabet. So 1 billionth. That's why I asked how it was spelled, Jeff.
I mean, if it's wrong, you look like an idiot. That doesn't make any sense.
But I'm trying to find some process here. I'm trying to find some reason. I say we go with 1 billion.
You go billionth?
All says don't go with it.
Yeah, that makes zero logical sense. I mean, this is hard. I have no idea. We got to find
it. All right. So it's, I say we eliminate 1 million. I think that's.
Okay. Millionth is gone. So it's trillionth, quadrillionth, or billionth.
I said we go
screw it.
No, what are you going to say?
I was going to say, let's go with billionth.
Let's go with billion then. Final A to Z, billion.
Believe it or not, a jiffy is an actual unit of time defined during the late 18th century by scientist Gilbert Newton Lewis as the amount of time it takes light to travel 1 centimeter in a vacuum, which is about 33.4 picoseconds or 1 trillionth of a second. Well, at least we weren't. I mean, we were between 3, but that was the last of the 3. So, dang, 6 and 4. We're working from behind. We can't be doing that, people.
No, we don't. We don't like that. All right, we got to be better next week. All right. Hey, Nick says Pico on a Taco Tuesday. I hope everybody enjoys the rest of your Tuesday. Thanks for playing along. Ian asks, how many jiffies did we take on that? A lot.
Yeah.
We will see you guys tomorrow on Wednesday. More draft content and coverage coming throughout the rest of the week. We'll announce our draft coverage plans tomorrow morning on the show. Buck Rising live tonight, A to Z Sports Primetime. A to Z Sports.com for more coverage, and the A to Z Sports Podcast Network as well. We'll see you guys tomorrow morning.